welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. And Simply C, how you doing?
Hello, I'm
How you
doing
been?
good.
That's
Pretty
good.
good, pretty busy, but
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That I had to let them know that you've been busy and you've been missing in action, but it's all for a good cause. You know,
yes.
you know, s- doing a little catch up. Telling people what you've been up to before we get into some of the
Um,
things.
so the biggest thing is I've been moving, and then trying to get my mental health straight. I lost two important family members last year, so
Yeah.
December kind of put the icing on the cake, and I'm just now getting back to close to normal from before at the beginning of last year. So,
Hmm.
I've been doing a lot of self work, but also working. I work on campus and I work in radio. Um, and then I've been moving my things. So, like when I'm not in school, I would go pack some things, move some things, go back, go to sleep, wake up first thing in the morning, go to my job at campus. And then right after that, I have class. So we've just been productive.
Sounds great.
Productive's a better word.
Sound like a good thing. God don't make no mistakes, and He keep us moving in the right direction. As long as we know never to give up. The most the,
Mm-hmm.
the most important goal of all is never give up and keep the faith. And with that combination, regardless of what the world might throw at your feet, you can pay it,
Mm-hmm.
pat it, and make it a beat, and keep let the drums sound. We're gonna get down. Yeah, but
Yeah.
today we're gonna reach out here and try to get some of I don't know what's going on. One of the topics I want to talk about, because I know you're not located in Virginia Beach, but as an adult and as a young adult, I just want to get your perspective on how do you feel about the voting in Virginia Beach? They are turning it. The local election system has changed, but they are trying to change it back from the ten district to one. They want to go back to the at large system, and with a little background, if I think I got it right here, with a little background, Virginia Beach, a resident, Latasha Holloway and Georgia Allen asked the federal government to change the city election system to the
Mm-hmm.
district-based voting back in what was it in 22. Yeah, if the city complied with the decision in the district court, and the U.S. court appeal to the
Mm-hmm.
fourth district demand July the 22nd that the lower court is it ruling. And during that time of the appeal courts and all the appellate courts, and they followed, they implemented the 10-1 ward system in November of 22. And this is why in 23 we have four four people that's on city council in Virginia Beach. And because of when they do an at-large system, you know, even though I don't run in stay I stay in that district, but that's not who I want to vote for.
Right.
You know, so that's what we face now, because they are sending out people, if they got these in the mail, this week. They're having meetings now to talk about the system and want people, the citizens of Virginia Beach, to vote, to voice their opinion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be virtual. I think tomorrow. What's today's date?
Today's the 25th.
Okay, yeah, tomorrow they will have it virtual on the 26th,
Mm-hmm.
so that people can, tune into that, register to that, and different recreation centers and the Central Library in Virginia Beach, for people to come out and voice their opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
know, like I said, I know you don't stay in Virginia Beach, but how do you feel about this going back and forth? Trying to keep keep the minority people minorities, Afro Americans from voting, women, in some districts from voting.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I was thinking of because on one hand, you want to have a space for different communities to be represented. On the other hand, you don't want to make the system so complicated that it confuses the voters.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how to feel about it because I took a class in the fall of 21, I think it was,
Hmm.
where we talked about um, mitigation and was it intro to, I think it was adaptations and mitigation, but
Uh-huh.
it focused on adjusting how we respond to our like human effects on natural environments and what are some of the things we can do to change them. And one of the things that our professor was adamant about was talking about these things in those boardrooms, having the communities aware, like, hey, this is why this is relevant. It's affecting you, it's affecting your real estate, it's affecting your food availability, it's affecting your lifestyle habits. Um, and he also agreed that we don't have the best system for discussing that. But in other countries where they have more than two um, political parties, they have better representation of their population. They have less things going on, less trouble happening. Um, so, on one hand, I say we should have that diversity represented because it's important. But on the other hand, like, is the system really ready for that?
Well, but yeah, like I said, it's because I do stay in Virginia Beach, and
Hmm.
I've been in, Virginia Beach is system is designed to be against Afro American people. It's designed that way. Their charter is designed that way. And most people that don't know that, or don't study, I've been dealing with the politics in Virginia Beach when it comes to trying to get things done. The school
Hmm.
systems, when they spent about, I forgot how many millions, close to 50 or $60 million to build a gifted school.
Hmm.
And they probably didn't have 10 black people in it.
Yeah.
And my sons were their teachers. Told my, told my sons, told me, my wife and I, that we should, have them, tested for the gifted class. So we
Hmm.
went to the school or talked to the people at the school board. They said they don't need to be tested.
Did they say why?
No, not they can't say why. You know why they black.
I
They're
know.
not going to.
Yeah.
This is the system that they want to go back to.
See, I can't relate to that because I grew up in Suffolk and I
Hmm.
liked the diversity that we had. I went to school with a decent amount of like a smaller class.
Hmm.
We had students representing different populations. They tested everyone, so there was no segregation in that. And then the program that they had was my sister drew flowers on her test, so she didn't
Uh,
get in because she didn't want to leave her friends. But I
right.
got into it, and so they would take us to go to like music festivals or different classes. It's kind of just like exposure to things that we might not get if our parents were not able
Mm.
to give us those opportunities. Um, so that's but I just remember going to New Jersey. Never mind, I
Okay.
can relate because when I
Mm.
got to New Jersey, I wanted to just to see if I could get in, apply to some of their schools up there, and my guidance
Mhm.
counselor was like, "Those are reach schools. I don't think you'll be able to get those." And I'm like, "I came from straight A's to this school.
Thank
You're
you.
telling me I can't?" Like, I came from having all these experiences because I went to a black school that used to be a magnet school in the area because it's in a city that had a high black population,
Mhm.
and you're telling me I wouldn't qualify to these places because of why? Oh, you
What?
can't give me a reason? Okay.
No, ain't no. It's no reason. My
Mhm,
my 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 other son. I don't, because I don't like using the word stepson. He's
mhm,
in my family, so you're my son.
mhm,
You're eating my food. You're sleeping in out. In the house. You're going to school.
mhm.
You are part of the family. You ain't a step. I don't get that word. Why people use that? Oh, that's a stepdad, or that's a he. If he's taking care of you, he's your dad. If you go to
I've heard
court,
people say bonus parent
right,
or bonus
and
child, I mean.
it makes me feel like I don't recognize him as someone that I love. That's what
Mm,
I feel. That's the way I feel when you say step something, meaning that you're going to get less love. You're not going to get the kind of love that I give my children,
mhm,
even though I'm you're one of my children in the house, but I'm not
mhm,
going to treat you. They all gonna get treated the same. So he's my son. He came. His father was the wrote music for Cooley and the Gang
mm,
and many other rock groups and all that.
mm,
Like he's like a genius. You know, I talked. I mean, we was friends and stuff. And before he passed away, and come down here to register. You know, when I asked his mother to come down here, then my wife to come down here to stay. You know, to get him in school. She went to the school in Virginia Beach. They told her, you know, she's explained to her and said, well, he was in a gifted class up there. She
mhm.
said, well, he ain't gonna be in one here.
Did she talk to the school board?
Then we talked to the school board. We probably did. We I can't remember what was the conversation,
Mhm,
but I know with my other sons, you know, like Alex and Kenny and my other Calvin, they said they weren't going to test them.
Here's what I found.
Did you hear me say anything about? That's what I'm trying to tell people. You know, see what I'm saying? You didn't hear me say nothing about nothing on 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 the phone, and
That's
it
funny.
just automatically
Here's what I found.
right. I ain't asked you nothing. You're not. Uh, Let me see. Can I, uh, hide the voice so she won't detect? Sari, you are not a part of the show.
Nope,
You're
as
not
much
getting
as you
paid.
wanna be.
Yeah, you want to be. You know. But the thing is, by me being in the club business and working in the community, I would meet parents and they'd be like, you know, they told my grandson the same thing.
Mhm,
You know, and I had the lady when I used to get my hair relaxed, and she used to do my hair for
mhm,
what 10 years or more. She was my neighbor down the street, and she's got a doctorate degree, and
mhm.
you know, and all this, and she was going out there to the schools um, in the area in the district where we are, and she's like, they just treat kids any kind of way out there, you
You
know.
would think it's better because being in Portsmouth when we had I hate to say it was a race thing, the
Hmm.
w one of the few white guys we had in our ROTC,
Hmm.
kept saying how he came from Virginia Beach and he missed it there because his friends were there,
Right,
and so he went back and it was so much better for him because he couldn't get the same opportunities at Norcom that he did at Green Run.
right, right.
And he went to a better school and everything because he just had the better opportunities there.
Right. Ooh, this is a black guy.
It was a white guy.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say, like, he had better opportunities, but we're like,
Right.
"Well, we
They
get the
do.
best here because
Yeah.
everybody wants a minority. They wanna give us" that's why we had such a good experience at that
Right.
ROTC, because we were, I wanna say 90 to 95% students of color. The scholarship opportunities were endless, like, people could go to college for free. He wouldn't have had that opportunity at our school.
Yeah. And like like I'm from this area, so every
Yeah.
city, the seven cities have the problems.
Yeah.
I've been dealing in the community ever since the '70s. So when people think, when they hear my name, they go, "Oh, you're a club DJ." What? A club DJ? I'm many things, but
Mhm.
you don't know. You know what the media tell you. The
Mhm.
media tell you I'm running the worst club in the history of Virginia Beach. Well, in order to do that, how did I stay over 15 years?
Yeah, it's
The
hard to
longest,
stay in business out.
right?
Yeah.
The longest running black club that was open in Virginia Beach,
Mhm.
15 years being open. But I'm the worst club in the history of Virginia Beach. When other clubs all around me were closing
Mhm.
within a year or 2.5 years. So
Mhm.
when people don't understand is the politics that go along with trying to run a successful Afro-American or minority business is very difficult. When you look at the beach and they'll say, well, the beach is large, but they don't when they don't want to show the who's cooking in the kitchen. It's minorities cooking the food, but it's
Because we know how to make it
owned,
taste good, but
right. And that's why they don't want black businesses, black restaurant owners down there.
mhm,
Is competition. And,
mhm,
you know, yeah, you know, white restaurants, they have their own flavor, their own taste. There's
mhm,
nothing wrong with that. But that's why ours is called soul food, you know.
yeah,
And like I said, when I ran my clubs, you know, white people come in and they're like, we love soul food. Y'all serve food there. That's the first thing they would ask when I said, yeah, we have dancing and we play, you know, good. Oh yeah, but do you cook
food,
soul food?
yeah,
We be looking for them soul food places, but we can't find that in Virginia Beach.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
everybody is like it's territorial, but when you know the procedures, I done cooked for thousands of people. You
yeah,
know, running a club and managing clubs and owning clubs. I done cooked for thousands.
yeah,
My food sales was probably 130%.
mhm,
And when people are talking about, you know, all you got to do is run a business the right way.
mhm,
It's the right way. But when you talk about the bag, when you want the bag, the
mhm,
moolah, you see the money coming in, and you say, "Oh well, I'm gonna bend the rules because I can't get the crowd I want."
mhm,
I design my clubs to get the crowd I want,
right,
not just to get the bag.
right,
Because if you get the right club, I mean, you get the right crowd, the money will come because it's
yeah,
consistent. That's in
yeah,
business. Anybody tell you that? In business, the most Afro Americans or minorities going to open a business within 3 years, they're gonna be closed.
mhm,
That's the statistics. You ain't gonna get around it. In 3 years, you're gonna close because you're not gonna do what it takes to make money.
yeah,
And to not just make money, but to sustain what you're trying to do. So I done
yeah,
read all those books, you know, over the years of preparing for these positions that I didn't ask for. I
yeah,
didn't ask to manage clubs. I asked to be the DJ,
mhm, the entertainer,
the entertainer.
mhm,
But to try to get around what I get paid, oh,
mhm,
well, I'll give you do this, and I can give you extra few dollars over here.
mhm,
You know. So instead of then, you know, I'll do it, you know. But to do that, they want control
mhm,
over me as an entertainer,
yeah,
you know. And the only way you can sustain any nightclub is who's controlling the
the
music,
crowd,
the
right,
crowd. And if you don't have the right scenario and don't know how to do it, you is fighting a losing battle,
yeah,
trying to get everybody in the club just because they're spending money. I
yeah.
turned down hundreds or thousands of dollars.
You made it desirable to even qualify
Right.
to be in there, yeah.
Because you know, the most important thing I did, I listened to my customers.
That's another thing that successful businesses do,
And and
because it's
because
about the customers.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the most important customer is the woman.
Mm,
The woman is the one that says, I like this. I'll be telling my friends.
mhm.
All the people be like, yeah, this I'm gonna make this my spot. I like the music. I like the music, and you know, the ladies are easy on the eyes, as
Mhm.
when you know the language that people talk, you know, they easy on the eyes, and you know, because everybody has their own rhythm, their own vibe, their own click.
Mhm.
And young people, like I tell you, when I train my staff in any club I worked, is that the most valuable person in the club is not the owner. The most valuable person in the club is the customer.
Mhm.
If you do not take care of the customer, you have no
No
job,
business. Yeah.
no business. So when you don't bow down to your customer who
Yeah.
goes to work 9 to 5,
And then brings their hard-earned money to you.
hello,
Yeah.
bingo,
My
stop
mentor
playing
used to say
checkers.
that.
That's what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
playing checkers, and it's not a chess. This is a chess game
Yeah.
because there's too many elements in running a club.
Yeah.
It's not just music. It's not just, and I train my waitresses and staff. I teach them like how you want to make good money as a waitress. This
Mhm.
is how you do it.
Mhm.
Nobody has to give you a tip.
Anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
'Cause here we pay you.
Right.
And when I
And
was,
that's a plus. Like, if
yeah,
you're actually paying them, there's people still making below minimum wage right now just for that position. And I'm like, well, why would you put yourself in that job? Well, the tips are good. But I'm
right,
like, but the
right,
tips are sometimey. Like,
yeah,
guaranteed pay with tips is better.
hello. And
Yeah.
we was the only club in the area paying people $10, $15 an hour
Yeah.
back in the
And at
day.
the time, and that's what
Right.
I was about to say. Like,
Yeah.
that's even comparable now.
Yeah, in the 80s, we paying $10, $15. Why? Because we wanted good customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And if we did good, we might even throw in a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't worrying about your tips. You got to report that yourself. Once you
Mm-hmm.
turn in what you made, I report it because I
Mm-hmm.
have to pay X number of dollars in taxes. It's a lot of moving parts. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just opening up the door, sticking the key in a door. It's not just making sure the employees are on time, and you make sure you got all your supplies. It's a lot of internal, external people you have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
In the health department, the police department, the fire department, you got a whole lot of people you got to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to deal with hundreds or tens of thousands of people over the years that you got to be intermingle with. So when we do things and we don't look at all the components that work with it, then we don't know why. And that's why. Go ahead.
Well, no, as you were saying that, that just made me think about something someone said one time, like,
Uh-huh.
politics don't necessarily matter to people until you have something that is worth defending or you have something worth understanding it for. Taxes don't matter to people until it starts affecting or not your income, but until you start getting an income.
Right.
Um, so with managing your clubs and then also being a resident of Virginia Beach, how have you
Mhm.
been affected by the politics changes?
Well, the politics, because it got to, it was becoming, it affected my health.
Mm-hmm.
And, with all the, backlashing, and, that'll be in a book, soon, with the corruption of trying to put me out of business. Like I
Mm-hmm.
tell people, like I told a police officer one evening, because I don't curse, and when they use profanity when they want to speak to you, I'll shut this down.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, this ain't gonna turn into another. We had a club in the area that was real bad, have a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to turn into that kind of. I said, let me explain to you. You're absolutely right. I
Mm-hmm.
said, I opened that club. I
You
opened that
see me
club,
still over there?
and that's why I left, because I
Yeah.
don't run clubs that way. I don't run clubs
Right.
to get people hurt. I run clubs so people can meet people, have a
Mm-hmm.
good time, relax, go home, and come back the next night. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I said, well, and the second thing, you can't shut down nothing that God gives somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that police officer went off, and I got arrested
Mm.
for saying it because he couldn't find nothing else to arrest me for.
Yeah.
So when people don't understand the politics that go into managing or operating or being an entertainer, and I'm one of few Black people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that play for an all white audience.
Mm-hmm.
So the audience never had a problem. They love me to death. They would
Mm-hmm.
go on trips. They bring me gifts back. They invite me to to functions, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really go out, which I know. I didn't. Only time when I was young, I go out because I'm a dancer. I love to dance, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll kill it. Like, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Everything I do is entertainment. When you see me with a beard,
Yeah.
that's I'm entertaining. That's the dream maker. So
Yeah.
everything I do is real.
Yeah.
Every character I create is real. So when I'm talking to young people, and trying to express the love that is required for them to not be bullied and and get into violence and gangs. You got to be real. You can't come
Yeah.
out here playing and faking. That's why we
They can
have the
see right
problem.
through it.
Huh?
They can see right through it, and
Thank
they don't
you.
trust you as soon as you start doing that.
Hello. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I continue with the things I do. And I try to explain to people because because I used to work with AKA Frankie Stewart, the Soul Ranger back in the day, and
Mhm.
with my organization. And young people be like, Mr. Vaughn, please don't let them shut this down. We have nowhere to go. We don't have
Mhm.
nothing to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll try, but I can't do it by myself.
Mhm.
You have to do it because if you're bringing friends and associated with people that causes problems, then
Then yeah, that's gonna keep it going.
that's going to keep it. They're going to come after me.
Yeah.
So so well, don't worry, we'll let you know, and they will let me know when people
Yeah.
are about to fight. Not wait till fight start
No.
anything because they have to be able to say they are scared.
Yeah.
What part people don't understand about young people? They are afraid.
They don't listen to them.
I know.
There's like I have been able to see um a lot more people who pay attention and support, even at my job with our student athletes, and they have their own challenges. They have advisors who counsel them, who don't just shuffle them around. They actually sit down, have a conversation, let them have their moment to be heard. The schools are getting better.
Uh-huh.
As I get older, I start to recognize resources that the schools have had
Uh-huh.
that they just didn't promote.
Right.
So I think most schools, I'm not going to say every school, has a mental health counselor. I can't remember what they call them when you're in there, but I
Mm.
remember some students would need it and they just wouldn't tell anybody. They'd just say, hey, it's time for you to leave class now. And then
Right.
that would keep that um, discretion for the students so that they could have their moment of counseling with whatever was happening in their personal life so they could have a good experience at school.
Right.
So things are getting better. I can say that much. And
Yes.
then with the world paying attention to mental health and after COVID happening and a lot of people having to face their own things going on with them, and realizing when they need help or when they just have to make self adjustments and discipline themselves, the world's a lot more aware, I
Yeah.
think.
And they are, now implementing. I'm in Virginia Beach, so when they
Hmm.
was bullying Alex, my son, I'm very particular. I'm very protective of my kids. I don't
Hmm.
care who it was. But when they started bullying him, and I went there and called the teacher, I went out and had a meeting with her. She said, well, uh, because I took him to the psychiatrist because at the time I was going to get my GED
Hmm.
and we was having, a talk. And the lady said, this sounds like your son is being, being traumatized.
Hmm.
So I think you need to talk to the psychiatrist we have here.
Hmm.
I talked to her. She said, yeah, why don't you bring him out, and let me talk to him, but you can't be in the room, you
No,
know.
because he's got to be able to say it
Right.
unaltered.
And because the reason why, because my wife walked past his bedroom, him and his friend was talking, but the door was open, not
Hmm.
closed all the way. And she said they was crying and it made her sad. And when she told me, yeah, I'm like, that was at night. The next day,
Hmm.
I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
And I can say when I went to the school, the lady was like, "Oh, I don't know nothing about that." Uh,
Right. Because she might not see it.
yeah, she's the principal, and I said, "Well, that's the case. Then how come he got, when he mentioned because they had that no nonsense policy, you
Hmm.
couldn't say gun or knife or anything,
Hmm.
you get suspended.
I remember.
They wanted
Yeah.
to suspended him because the in the gym the guys were bullying him, took his shoes off and threw him in the garbage can, and when they said, well, if you don't punch this guy, we gonna beat you up. He said, I'm not punching, I'm not hitting him, and they said, okay. So then when the guy said, well, if you don't do it, I'm gonna bring my gun to school. And my only thing my son said, you ain't the only one that got a gun. That's all he said.
But they
I
didn't
know
penalize the other kid, did they?
Right. So I think
Yeah.
both of them got sent home,
Oh,
but
okay.
you
Okay.
know, I don't. You know, all I know is he got sent home. He don't supposed to be getting sent home
No.
because when my kids I already know you don't want to get in trouble with the school,
Yeah.
and you got to face me.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't sprawl. I don't. I don't. I don't spare the rod. I do
Yeah.
everything I can to make you happy. I'll buy you anything you want as long as you doing what the schools tell you, getting your work
Mhm.
done. You ain't getting failing grades. Hey, it's on and pop and take it to the movies. Hey, you want to bring friends? Bring them on. I'm gonna
Mhm.
pay everybody's way in, buy whatever they want. I do that every Saturday before I would go to the club, you
Mhm.
know. And but like I tell people, when she said, I said, well, the lady said the psychiatrist need to come out here and talk to the teachers
Okay,
because
good.
she said, well, ain't no psychiatrist coming out here. So what? Ain't nobody coming out here to talk to none of my teachers. I said, okay.
Well, you need to talk to the school board because
Right.
that lady's not the end all be all.
Yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, all right, you have a nice day. But I
Yeah.
did say this before I left. I said, anything happened to my son, the worst thing you could happen to my son, you're in
Yeah.
trouble. You have a nice day. I
Yeah.
went got right outside, called the superintendent. This is the
Yep.
first time I ever got the superintendent in Virginia Beach. And I already been in Virginia Beach about 15 years.
Yeah.
And he answered the phone. Yeah. He said, Mr. Vaughn, how may I help you? I said, got a slight problem, sir. He said, what's the problem that I can help you with? I explained to him the situation like I just said.
Mhm.
He said, well, let me take a look into that. Give me about 10 to 15 minutes and I'll call you right back.
You gonna call
Uh,
her?
right. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
I guess he'll call back in 15 minutes. He was on
Mhm.
the phone. He said, Mr. Vaughn, he said, I looked into that situation. Have that psychiatrist go out there and speak to the teachers.
Good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Got him in the room, other than the principal. 8 teachers in the room,
Mhm.
and all of them told the psychiatrist they didn't know my son was being bullied.
But that's the thing. So what you were saying brought to mind a story that came up in the news,
Mhm,
and I'm trying to remember if it was the news or if it was a show, and I'm pretty sure it was the news. A
mhm,
girl took her life because of that, and when they went back to investigate what was going on, nobody knew what was going on, and the problem was that I think it was the principal
uh-huh,
publicly said, "Well, that doesn't go on." That it wasn't the news. I was watching YouTube. It was a news
uh-huh,
story they were talking about,
uh-huh.
and the clip they played of how how they do like a press conference or whatever,
Right,
and they
right,
talk about it. Well, the guy was like, "Yeah, well, I haven't observed that happening at my school, so I don't think that." Basically, they didn't think they should make any changes. And as soon as he said that, I was like, well, you're a person of authority. You're
right,
not going to see that. You're not going to see the bullying that's happening. You're not going to see the mental health going on with these kids because either they're going to hide from you or they're going to hide it in your face and you're not
right.
going to know. And the
Mhm,
teachers aren't going to know because the teachers are people of authority unless they don't have respect for the teachers.
right. And
So
that's
you
that.
have no right to say that.
Yeah. I mean, that was 2 incidents that really 2 to 3 incidents. One in Virginia Beach,
Yeah.
where the guy was teaching the girl at the bus stop.
Hmm.
He even got on top of her and punched her in her face.
Hmm.
She goes to school, goes to
With
the
a
nurse
bruise.
office,
Yeah.
and she give her something and send him home. But the guy that did the punching didn't get sent home.
Yeah.
So the mother's calls because somebody called me because they wanted me to interview her.
Hmm.
Interview her sister, and said that my sister tried to, she had a college degree, saying, well, she gonna homeschool her daughter now.
Yep.
They said you ain't taking your daughter out of school.
How are you going to tell me what I am and what I'm not going to do as a
But
parent?
yeah, I know that's what I'm saying. But they did. They threatened her. So I guess went on back and forth for a couple of days, and the girl, you know, I guess was being teased or whatever, or because the guy was still in school. So she came home. Her mother came home one day when she got off work, looking for her daughter because the house was so quiet. Went in her room. She thought she was asleep, and went over to wake her up, and she had committed suicide
Mhm.
and took the pills, but
Mhm.
the bottle was laying there. So what her mother did, took the rest of the pills and committed suicide, and found both of them dead.
Oh.
But nothing was ever said about the boy that bullied her, beat
Well, the
her.
boy's gonna have to live with that, like,
Right,
whether he got penalized in this world or not, like,
right,
he's now responsible and got blood on his hands.
right. 2 deaths.
Yeah.
Then it was Williamsburg. There was a young lady, beautiful. I think she was middle school, either high school. I can't remember. Beautiful young lady. Same thing. She, they was teasing her, and girls was picking at her because she was dating somebody, or they try to say he ain't like her. I forgot what the situation was.
Yeah.
So her mom and dad came home one day looking for her.
Mhm.
Again, the house is quiet. Where's so and so at? Went in her room, didn't see her in the room. Opened up the closet. She done hung herself.
Yeah.
She was about 16 years old.
Yeah.
Then there's another situation with a different scenario in Williamsburg. This is more like a predator situation. This young girl was influenced to sneak out the house by a guy, maybe an older guy. He was an older guy. And he told her to meet him at the edge of her driveway
Mhm.
at night after the parents go to bed. She snuck out, and him and his girlfriend picked her up, took her wherever, I forgot their location. They took her to and killed her.
So
So what people,
Ah.
what part people don't understand about the situation that young people are going through
Yeah.
with the gun violence. And I've been, like I said, I design and create stuff like my coloring book that's coming out
I
that
hate to
deals
say it,
with
but
these scenarios.
I think it's because it's just easier there's easier access now because these things have always been a reality for some families.
Yeah.
But now that we have the internet and now that we have social media and now that there's really no way to turn off your social outlets,
Uh-huh.
it's a lot easier to do these kind of things.
Right.
And
And,
there's really no accountability anymore.
right. Somebody got to be responsible. And we could talk about taking back the community. Like I said, I don't deal with people that, there's their scenario. If you've been using a thing for the last 10 or 15 years, and everybody's on the same page, and when you gonna turn it? You can't
Do
take
they
back something you
Yeah.
don't own.
Yeah.
You're talking about the community. That's not a community that's creating the violence. It's the people that live within the community.
Mhm.
Now, everybody that I've interviewed, or from politicians to police chiefs, civic community leaders, they all got one phase. We're going to take back something. Let
Mhm.
me say something. How can you take something back that you don't own? When did somebody tell you you own the community? You live in a neighborhood. You used to live in the ghetto.
Mhm.
Now, when did you thought you'd stayed in a community? So when the largest community in the United States, in Virginia, was Cavalier Manor. That community, I don't know if it still is today. That community is over 10,000 family homes
Mhm.
built, built for Afro-American people by
Mhm.
George T. McClain. So people got to know the history so they'll know what the effect is. 10,000 families stay right in that location. So I worked there. I didn't stay there, but I did work out there at one point when I got older, help working in the construction of the houses built
Mhm.
on they call Crystal Lake. You know,
Oh, you mean the mayor's houses?
yeah, yeah,
Back when
yeah.
that was,
When
when
it
my
was,
mama was a baby.
yeah, when they first was being built, I
Yeah,
worked
that
out
used to
there.
be trees.
Yeah, that is that they got. That's why I call Crystal Lake. The reason
Man-made.
why, that's a man-made lake
Yeah.
and it's deep.
Oh yeah, people
way
fish
deep.
out there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I went when before they filled it with water, they had to bring the water in,
Mhm.
to fill it. That's deep.
Mhm.
So I mean, like an ocean is deep.
Yeah,
You go to
it's
the
deep
edge.
and it's out there. It's
Yeah, I
really
used to go to
far.
the edge and look over. And, whoa, let me get back. I don't want. I don't want to be. I don't want to see the edge of it. I don't want to see the bottom. You couldn't see it. And
Yeah,
so you're standing on the top, and it is ironic how they got the water to come up to where
it's
you
at.
it's level.
Mhm.
So
And it
like,
stays that way.
yeah, and I'm
It doesn't
like,
have a
man,
tidal change, no
you know,
nothing.
hello. And it's the things that we go through and accomplish and the abilities that our kids have. Our
Mhm.
kids have gifts from the time they were born,
Mhm.
God-given tips, gifts. We have that, but we have to be able to understand that most people know our history way, way before we are even
We
born.
were talking about that.
You know, but
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get into particulars. But like I tell people, I was in a special education class.
Yeah.
I was taken out of the second. I was taken out of the third grade. I just passed. I won't in it. I won't in the third grade a week, a month.
Mm.
They took me right out, put me in the special education class,
Mhm.
and and the teacher said when I got to the teacher that Miss Overton that worked with me,
Mhm.
what our class I was in, and she said, "Do you know why you in my class?"
Imma
I
tell you
said,
why you were undiagnosed ADHD.
"Yeah." She said, "No, no." She didn't go into the
That
Pacific
wasn't
of
a thing back then.
right. She said, "Where you're in this class because you can't read."
Mm,
So okay,
I forgot
let me.
about that.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, my mom and dad, they came from when they was young. They moved from North Carolina. They were sharecroppers.
Right.
My mom had a third grade education.
Mhm.
My dad had a second grade education. But
Mhm.
if they are sharecroppers when they were young, back then, that's not too far from being out of slavery.
Mhm.
They were, the education that they get because that's why people don't understand why you have summer breaks.
So people could go back and work on the farms. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they could work.
Mhm.
So won't about getting an education. You had to work to live and eat. And
Mhm.
sharecropping is what the farmer land that you was on, how much he made, he would split it with you. But by the
Mhm.
time the harvest come in and he sells it, you got to pay for your
Everything.
everything.
Soap,
Your room and
food.
board.
Yep.
He gave you money for clothes,
Yep.
food, medical, whatever.
Yep.
And
And
you
that was
might walk out back then, maybe 50, if it's 50 or $100. I don't know what I never asked my mom that. But like I said, and I'm saying to myself, well, if my mom and them don't know that much, about reading and stuff,
mhm.
then how am I to learn other than
School.
school? If you're teaching me,
I get it.
what I'm saying, but my teacher said, she told me to go to the board and do a problem, you know, and I did the problem. She
Mhm.
said, do the next. So I did it. So when she called me to a desk saying, what grade? You was in the third grade. She said, okay. She said, tell you what, if I work with you, will you do the work? I
Mhm.
promise to get you out of special education class. I did the work I was doing before I got, because we moved and I was out of the district. I couldn't stay there.
Mhm.
And I moved. And before I moved, I was about 9, about 10 or 11.
Mhm.
And I was doing math. I was doing high school math and stuff. I could look at a book. We
Mm.
have a spelling contest. I can just memorize it. Then I go home and practice. You give us a list of all the 30 or 40 words that we have to learn.
Mhm.
And what I do, or how I practice is I rotate the words around. I first learn them in the order they were.
Oh, and then you just swap them up to.
I'll swap them around in my mind that
Mhm.
she's not going to call them in order.
No.
So that's how it was, learn how to memorize the words.
Yeah.
So our young people are very creative,
Yeah.
and if you give them the right tools
Yes.
and the right information, and truly let them know that you care about them,
Mhm.
they don't do all that. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I didn't want to always talk about my perspective
Mhm.
because of what I've been through, but I know you as a colleague from Old Dominion. You was very impressive when you said, "Hey, can I do it? Can I interview you?" And I hesitated for a minute, and I
He
said,
sure did. He
"Because
had a guest with him and everything.
I don't do interviews. I talk a lot. I did
Okay.
interviews. So when people have invited me on interviews, it seems that I resonate with the uh, the people that's on their radio shows,
Mhm.
and they get tremendous response from me being there. And I don't know everything. I just know what I've been through.
Mhm.
I know what I had to endure. And and I feel like no person, man or woman, boy or girl, is no different from me. I'm just telling you what it takes to overcome is to have faith and believe in yourself. And as long as you do that, nobody can tell you that you can't do something.
Yeah.
So that's why you always impress me, and I've we've talked about different things, and things that you've tried to accomplish, and working with other people. They want you to do the work, but they don't want to maybe uh pay you for
It's
your
time.
time.
Mostly it's
and
time.
and time is money.
Yeah.
And like I try to explain to people, I don't, people have offered to give me donations. It's hard for me to take money from people. It's been
Mhm.
very hard. uh Not that I don't need it. I rather work for it, you know.
Right.
And I've had many people come on my shows say, "Hey, I'll write you a check." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't take that." And in clubs, like I tell people, when I go to a club, it's never about the money,
Yeah.
but I do get compensated to, if the offer's put on the table
You
and I
just gave me
choose
an
to
idea.
take it, you know. But
Yeah.
what I look at is that if I'm able to use my gifts and talents to help employ other people, then
Mhm.
that's the reward. That's a bigger reward. If I'm able to help the community, people, organizations, I have a lot of organizations in
Mhm.
the community, but I'm being demonized as I'm trying to bribe the community. What?
Well, no, so that's why you gave me an idea. What about like a trust or an entity
Yeah.
that is the face of doing the work in the community, if that makes
Right.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, either a trust or a 501c. But I got
Yeah.
real busy and sick with my 501c, and I didn't file in time. I
I
just got to get
remember.
it reinstated. But if foundation, because of uh, me using my gifts in drawing and painting and designs,
Mhm.
because I design materials. I just they
Publishing.
I haven't published the materials yet, and
Yeah.
people just think, oh, he just draw. He can. There's better people. I'm very technical with things that I do. So,
And yeah, so that's funny you said that. I just
uh,
had that conversation with my friend this morning. She
mm,
is very creative,
mm,
but I think she very much so judges herself against other people without
yeah,
recognizing her own abilities. And one of the first things that I was telling her was the same thing that my cousin started to understand, because two different cousins did my hair. One
uh,
cousin colored my hair, and then the other cousin did the style.
okay,
And the cousin that colored my hair, she's getting into the understanding that people will pay for what they want to pay for. Same way, you know for a fact you're going to go in the store, you're going to buy deodorant.
right,
What brand of deodorant? I
mm,
know there's a particular brand of deodorant that I'm going to go invest in because that deodorant hasn't brought me any issues.
right,
I have sensitive skin, so at least under my arm. So some brands will give me bumps and then I get irritated and I'm like, I have
right,
to go to the doctor to go get this worked out when I just fix a brand of deodorant. So
hmm,
I know I'm going to pay a little bit extra for something that's not going to cause me any problems. Other people might not have those issues. They don't care. So they'll just pay for the cheaper deodorant. People will pay for what they want to pay for, and they will pay for the person that they want to pay for.
Right.
So you having focused on your self-development and having developed and having created these things, you already know you're only going to attract those that are supposed to be there.
Yeah, right. So that's the whole ideal. But why I create this platform and my radio station internet is to bring forth the talent that we have that don't never nobody talks about.
Yeah.
We got young people out here that's geniuses
Yeah.
that take music and lyrics and make beats, and nobody's paying attention to them. Nobody. We got all the famous people in the world, but you can't come along and say, "Hey, yo, let me work with you." You find them, you sift out the music,
Mhm.
and the ones you think that's worth me listening to, send it to me.
Mhm.
You know, I've had an offer from one person, but I've been having Kovrek and stuff, and just getting back in shape.
Mhm. Yeah, you look really healthy and I can see the progress.
Yeah, because God don't make no mistakes. He has to
No.
slow you down because I
You
never
don't know when to stop.
right. I don't take vacations.
Nope.
I've been working
Can't sit still.
40 years in the club.
Mhm.
And the only way I don't do no work in a club is that I get fired. And when I get fired, it's because
Okay.
I'm not going to do what somebody want me to do when it
Yes.
comes to trying to just make more money. So that's what I look at and try to represent, and that let people know that it's easy to achieve goals if we do it the right way. And the
Mhm.
right way is I don't know everything, so that's why I always have the pleasure of having a colleague from Old Dominion University that knows more than me, because my generation
Mhm.
is in a different frame of mind. But
Mhm.
I can pass on some information to you that might be able to help you instill in what you're trying to accomplish. Because the craziest thing that people don't understand when people ask this question: if you had a chance to speak to somebody in history, somebody dead, who would you want to speak to? Well, let me see. The public library.
Oh yeah, that's written.
Their knowledge is in the books.
Yeah.
In every library, you can find a book
Yeah.
on them or written. That's why when you go to colleges, you have to register for the scholars, you know, uh, website,
Mhm.
because all that information is proper with what they want to put there. They put
Mhm.
some, they don't put it all. But if I want to talk to somebody, I want to talk to a young person, somebody that's living.
Mhm.
I want to talk to somebody that's not dead. I
Mhm.
want to go to the old folks. Because I worked in the old folks' home when I was, down on my luck a little bit. Had to get some social service because of, medical reasons, and I couldn't work and I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
So I had to get some little assistance from the welfare.
Mhm.
I ain't too proud to beg. People like you don't never did this, you ain't never did that. Yeah, ain't nothing I ain't done, partner. That's why.
People always want to talk like that. And as young as I am, and
Right.
I've had so many experiences growing up, the amount of guys that I didn't realize had interest in me, they were just trying to like set their stature, would
Uh-huh.
say that. And I would look at them and be like, how do you know that?
Right.
Well, because da da da, well, you don't know what it is. I'm like, well, how do you know that? You don't know that. Just because I look like I live a certain type of way, it's just how I carry myself. I
Right.
keep my clothes clean. I keep my clothes pressed. If not pressed, I steam them. And when I'm in a good state of mind, because at that time nothing had happened yet that was
Uh-huh.
changing. So I had the highest honors when I was in ROTC. I got an award nobody got before because I kept my uniform pristine and it was so simple. I
Wow.
just washed it after competition. Since I was only wearing it for a couple hours once a week, I would
Right.
hang it right back up. I didn't even have to iron it anymore because I didn't do anything. It's just a uniform.
Right.
I got a glass award at the first, they started tripping me. I got so many awards the first year of ROTC because I carried myself
Right.
so well because I participated in everything. I used to tell people I didn't have a social life then. So what else am I going to do but participate here? I like it here. This
Right.
opportunity got me to sail from Virginia to Connecticut free.
Hello.
Sail from Nauticus to where my cousins live in Connecticut. So I went
No.
from one familiar place to another familiar place for free.
Right.
I had so many, like, I have a binder of awards from the focus that I've had up until life happened to me, where I was just accomplishing things. And so for someone to come and tell me I don't know anything, well, what do you like? One friend, she realized she had a bias because as soon as it came out of her mouth, she was like, "Oh my God, I really just did that to you." She said, "Well, what do you know about cars?" And I was about to explain it because I didn't take any offense to it. And then she was
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, I really just judged you and I really don't know. I am so sorry." And I was like, "I didn't even take it that way
Right.
until you just said it." And then
Yeah.
it dawned on me. But no, I grew up with my dad working because he wanted to be a mechanic. So he always, when he was working on a car, showed us what he was doing. Whether or not he let us do it, he wanted to make sure we understood what we were looking at. So we didn't get the okey doke because he only had two daughters.
Right.
And you know, when girls take a car somewhere, you get the girl treatment. Why are you telling me I need this? I sold my car to my cousin and he
Mm.
got brand new wiper blades. I paid for the sports wiper blades. The only thing he needed was an oil change, and my dad said gaskets after I sold it, but I didn't know that until he sold it. He
Right.
went and had it all reworked. And I'm like, "So you didn't trust me to know my car? Well, you
Right.
didn't tell me anything was wrong with it." Nothing was wrong with it. You just needed
Right.
an oil change.
Right. That's the thing is that we don't trust young people to make decisions.
They don't trust us to even like they think that we don't have experiences and it's not so. Like I used
Right.
to tell my mother and I was telling my sister and anyone else who has experiences but doesn't trust themselves, I'm like, you have to remember who you're comparing yourself to. You are someone who would go to band practice, who made all district, who knew four instruments,
Mhm.
two of them in two different types of music, who got her license in real estate cosmetology, was a freaking bounty hunter. My mother was a bounty hunter.
Oh wow.
That you see what I'm saying? And so when you go somewhere and they tell you you're overqualified, well, they Googled you. Like, what do you expect?
Right.
You know? You have to just at that point just be an entrepreneur and tell people your prices.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I tell people, I used to tell people, yeah, I was in like I do now. I was in a special education class,
Yeah.
and these are white colleagues and stuff that I met in meetings, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, because they can't see it.
Right,
And the stigma on it instead of understanding that it's just someone who needs a different style of learning,
right,
not a
and
traditional classroom.
yeah, and they were like, "You shouldn't tell people that. Don't tell people that." I said, "What? Don't
To
tell people
protect your
you
social
that, yeah,
boundaries or
you
whatever.
don't you
Yeah.
don't you don't want to say that in public."
Mm-mm.
I'm like, "Why? It's the truth."
Mm-hmm.
The Bible said the truth is the light, and let your light so shine.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't tell it, then I'm lying to myself.
Yeah, and you can't have that dissonance.
Right. So when I in a time with a community college, the first semester, I got an award.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the dean's list, you know. So I'm like,
Why wouldn't I tell them?
I used to get awards even before I started college. I mean, I would take
Yeah.
classes and I get certificates. And what brought the certificates to my attention is when I went to Dr. Adolph Brown's office and I saw his wall. I'm like, oh man, he got all these awards, certificates, and certification. I used to have those. I threw them in the garbage.
You sound like my dad. He
Yeah,
burned his.
yeah. I'm like, what? This ain't gonna get me no. They ain't making me no money.
That's
I paid
exactly
for it.
what he said.
Yeah,
And
I
it
threw them. I
and
threw them in
later
the
he's
garbage.
like, "It bit me so bad," because he
Yeah,
was in a fit of rage.
yeah. But now, after I saw his wall, I got a lot of them on in frames.
Mhm.
I got some very prestigious awards. Some I got classes I took, sale classes, and finished them. And like I done studied a lot of things,
Yeah.
on a professional level. And I don't try to overshadow people. I listen
Yeah.
and try to broadcast in school, radio, learning techniques, reading, studying on the internet before the internet was popular. All these things are easy to do, as well as young people such as yourself and those that are not as still young and still learning. Let them learn. That's their gift. We're telling them not to do something, And the things that they should be telling the kids not to do, they ain't.
Correct.
That's why they got guns. That's why they bullying. They scared. They don't know that, hey, I wanted to do this, but since you ain't gonna let me do it, I'm gonna do this.
Correct.
You know,
Because
I
they think,
go,
I mean, they think like a child. That's just the
yeah,
logic that a child has.
yeah. So I go to the store and I walk around trying to find out what I can, get the product service.
Yeah.
And I see kids, two, three, four kids together on an aisle. Somebody's trying to steal.
Yes.
That was
And they
me.
all bunched up too.
Right. That was me
Yeah.
when I was young, but I was by myself.
Yeah.
I always did things by myself.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted to steal. It was to see if I could get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go in a grocery store when I was about 9 or 10 years old. I could walk out there with a bag of 5 pound bag of sugar and you would not know I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk out with a 2 pound bag of flour or 3 pound, 5 pound, and you would not even know I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So when people don't
It's a big
understand
money
it, the
trigger.
things I did, it wasn't because I wanted to be a thief. I wanted to know, was I capable of getting away with it?
Yeah.
And then once I found that I was capable of getting, well, I move on to something else,
Yeah.
you know. And in return, I would go to that store and spend my money
Now I
because
understand because you already stole
I
from them.
already stole something. So why go to the other store? Let me pay back here and, buy my friends something from here. But I
Yeah.
had to do it in a way, if I just did it and the testing, nobody know. Like that's what I do. I don't work in businesses and saved them hundreds and thousands of dollars in warehouse,
Yeah.
millions of dollars doing a project that they said were going to take 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was with 18 people at Colonial Store Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not a lot of people.
when it wound up being, it was me, my brother-in-law, and the foreman, and this other white guy. It was only five that did the work, and we completed it in
So it
six.
went from a small group to an even smaller group.
Right, and save
It's
millions of dollars. We had to redesign the whole side of the grocery. It's called the produce. Oh no, that was the grocery era and stuff where you get all your canned goods, everything that came on about 15. You got about 8 trains inside the
uh-huh.
building. All that stuff got to be put in place in
Mm-hmm.
racks and stuff, just for people to come and take it out or to ship out. So when people don't understand is, I've done things that, people said it couldn't be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have no problem with you don't liking me because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't make me. God did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he didn't just make you just to make money. He said, I will supply your every need. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm sitting here with no money, a knock will come somewhere or a call will come from somewhere and I got money.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't worry. The Bible says, worry about nothing,
Mm-hmm.
pray about everything. But you got any closing comments, on the topics that voting. Are you registered? Are you registering to vote? Are you voting this in November in your district?
I think I missed last
Uh,
election,
okay.
but I plan to vote every time because I recognize what it took to get here, and
Mhm.
I also recognize the journey's not finished yet. So I do my best to make a point to vote, and I know I make a point to tell everyone, like, "Hey, are you registered? Have you gone here? Have you da 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 da? Have you done this? Have you done that?" Because there's still a lot of people who don't believe in voting because they don't see the changes. And I
Right.
also try to encourage them to at least be aware of what's happening in your area. I'm blessed to be in an area where the community is more closely tied.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of somebody I went to high school with. He was in high school knowing he wanted to do politics. And now that we've graduated and been out of school for a bit, he's actually had an ad. I don't know what he's running for. I just saw his face and I saw the name and I was like, "Yay! I went to high school with you and you're accomplishing this thing."
Right.
I look forward to supporting your political journey because I've seen you develop as a person. And I'm really excited to see the positive changes because you're from the community. You're you know these people, you genuinely have connections with the community. It's not necessarily a corrupted, or from what I've seen anyway, I don't know personally,
Mhm.
but from what I've seen, it's not a corrupted process.
Mhm.
Um, So I use that and try to encourage my peers, like, hey, at least get to know these people because you never know. The guy that you had up here that was running for whatever he was running for that didn't answer
Yeah,
my questions.
yeah,
When he
yeah.
when he did share his experiences, that helped me to really connect with him because, okay, you've been an officer in the community and you were not one of those officers who was a jerk. Like you went around and made sure everybody knew your face. That's
Right,
important. And that matters to your community. And for that, then I will say, cool. If your community knows you, then great. I think I don't know you well enough to say yes or no anything. My opinion doesn't matter, but it matters in my area and I see the changes happening. So I do my best to tell everyone and I do my best to be present when it's my turn.
right. Well, enough said. I mean, I really thank you for coming on. And, every time we come on, we get, in a long conversation. And
This hour blew past.
yeah, it's always, seem that I'm always talking about myself. And that's why I don't go on talk shows. It's not about me, it's about the experience that I went
Hmm.
through that got me to be here at 70 years old.
Hmm.
That if I continue to go down that trail of doing something just to really see, can I do it?
Hmm.
Then I would have lined it up in jail.
Hmm.
You
I
know.
mean, you still do it, but with that's what I was gonna say.
Uh-huh.
My mom used to say, use your mind for good. Because just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something or
Right.
doesn't mean that's the way to do it.
Right.
And particularly her thing would be numbers. She memorized numbers so easy. She would just make a point not to learn the number so she couldn't have that information if it came to it.
Right. Yeah. That's there. You go. That
Yeah.
now you know what your mom. I know what she
Uh,
meant. You're condensing
yes.
information. That's
You make sure you only learn what you know you need to learn.
right. And that's to me, that's why, like I said, I love bringing you on so that when I people look back tomorrow, next year, or 10,000 years from today, they know that there was a lady named Simply C doing the things that catapulted them to be able to see it in their time. We are not, as the scripture or the gospel song say, he's right on time. He may not come when we want him, but he's
It's
always on
always on
time.
time.
That's why I have to, I always appreciate you coming on because it's not about what I know, it's about what the young people today see and what their kids will see when they have kids to document that, regardless of what people will say about they was this or they weren't doing that, they didn't care, you know, it's got to be documented because
Mhm.
something that's documented speaks 1,000 words. When it's documented, it only has to speak a few.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate you wholeheartedly. Um, Simply C, Sierra, or many names that you go by. As I tell, as it's written in the Bible, and they ask Jesus, say, "What name shall I?" No, when the angel took Muhammad to talk to God in heaven, and
Mhm.
Muhammad asked God, "Say, what name shall I call you?" He replied, "Is I go by many names,
Mhm.
but if I told you what my real name was, you would try to control me."
Mhm. I
That's
used to
why,
do that with pictures too because I
yeah,
would always think Rumpelstiltskin.
right.
Yeah.
So those things that people sometimes don't elevate their knowledge. You have to knowledge is something that just constantly. It's like the sun, the rising of the sun.
Mhm.
It's always there, but you have to pray in order to get the wisdom
Mhm.
to know what you're knowledgeable of. With that said, once again, thank you, Simply C. Thank you so much for those that viewed and those that'll view it later. You've been listening and watching the Best of the 757 Community Talk Show. Don't forget to check for your this paper in if you're in Virginia Beach.
You might
This
have to
yellow,
hold it farther away. It's
yeah,
blending in.
yeah,
There it goes.
yeah. Okay,
Oh,
well, I can't see it.
it's
I
the
can see the back
filter.
of it, but it's in English and it's in Spanish, and another word might be in Korean or Chinese. I don't know. But you get this. This will tell you where the places where they're going to have the meetings at. Look forward, and you also can go online and get that information as well. But don't forget to speak up and speak out, because with the 10 voting system that we have in Virginia Beach, we're not going back to the at large. If we do, you won't be around. You won't be on city council to enjoy. Trust me on that one. With that said, thank you again, C.
Thank you for having me.
All right. It's always a pleasure to have a colleague and a woman of the future on the Mother Earth, on the planet. Thank you so much. Well, you've been listening and watching the Best of the 757 Community Talk Show. And like I said before, we out. Thank you again. And please hit the share button and share this with some of the people that you know. And I will be editing this later. But until then, have a wonderful and blessed Saturday. And thanks again for coming to the Best of the 757. The large election system has changed. Remember, the changes comes within you. Let's not go back to the system that Virginia Beach once had.